Just picture a subway map as a stained glass window.
Okay.
Picture Ronald McDonald if he made a phone.
That's actually.
Picture
with a little less red,
the Fisher Price car, but flattened into a $250
a Tonka truck that's a nothing phone 2A.
Yeah.
Picture a great work by Piet Mondrian. But
picture Mickey Mouse with LEDs.
All right, I think we all know Marques is in the hate it category for sure.
There's.
Yo, what is going on, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marques.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm David.
This week, actually a surprising amount, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of smaller stories, internet stories, videos, happenings, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of it because we have thoughts, and they're also fun to talk about. Spotify killing some stuff, a new phone color that I think you can only have two possible opinions on. Google AI overviews possibly ruining the internet. We'll talk about it. Coffeezilla reacting to the R1, this whole investigation going down the rabbit hole. Also, later, Miles is going to join us. We're going to talk about a new car that recently got announced.
Oh.
It's a doozy. But first, there was a recent bonus episode we just dropped. It was pretty sick.
There was. You should definitely watch it. It was a lot of fun. But in it, I made a plea for somebody to find me a video that I couldn't find.
Yeah.
And it was about a Thanksgiving dinner that was only peas, and somebody found it within like 2 hours. So I have to shout out Chris A for finding it. Thank you. My entire family now thinks I am a regular sane person and not completely making this entire thing
up. They thought
up.
you were imagining that before?
They definitely didn't think it was real.
Well, they just think you weren't lying about this. They still think you're an insane person.
Maybe. There was actually someone else in the comment that's like, I've also seen this video and I can't find it. Please help me find it. But anyways, it's there. We'll put it in the show notes. But the last episode was awesome. I think everyone should go listen to it.
Also, a quick correction from last week's episode when we talked about these Microsoft computers, which I have the Asus Vivo book here that's running on the ARM chipset.
Very nice.
That I've been using for like a week. And I'm not allowed to really talk about it, but this is what it looks like. You can see it. Anyway, I had said that both the Surface Pro and the Surface laptops have OLED, and it is only the Pro, but not the laptops. I just wanted to update that.
Got it.
Okay.
And I think I just misread, but now you know.
Thank you guys for pointing out everything, and also thank you guys for liking and subscribing. We appreciate you for doing that too.
Smooth.
Wow. Wait, I want to ask you guys, because I haven't actually gotten your official opinions yet.
Yes.
So this is the Nothing Phone 2A special edition. Mm-hmm. You know how companies will do a colored version of a phone to rejuvenate interest in a new press cycle about their phone they already made?
The classic OnePlus play.
It's happened before.
I must say.
The Nothing phones have traditionally been black or white with LEDs on the back. What do you think of this one? It's really colorful.
I think it kind of looks like a kid's toy. And if you like that, then you like that.
I think it looks like an old R2-D2 toy.
Okay, so my theory is you can either love it or hate it, and I think you're both in the hate it camp.
I'm not.
Okay, never mind. My theory is out.
Well, no. I'm not saying, like, I kind of like it. I'm just not going to use a Nothing phone. That's, like, what's kind of tough about it. I like the colors. Like, okay, if this were a design on a keyboard where it's like I'm expecting something pretty fun and like blue, yellow, red, some gray and white, this looks really good. Actually, I'll pull it up. There's a keycap set that I ordered that I'm still waiting on that this reminds me of.
There are like two things that you can do when you decide to buy a phone. You can either go, I'm going to be boring and it's going to be the black or the white option, or the manufacturer will offer a really freaking weird color that's like Mystic Bronze. And you're like, I'm going to go for that color. Or Ellis got the purple iPhone 12 mini.
You did.
Yes. And so I think that if you're in the camp of I want the colorful version, then like this sticks out a lot and it is really playful. But if you're in the camp of I just want to be minimal and like chill, then you're probably going to get the black one or the white one. Wow.
Those are pretty sick,
Those would
right?
pair very well together.
Oh, yeah.
It's this keycap set called Gestalt.
Do you have it?
No, it's in the or I ordered it. It's
So it's coming
how do you
in?
pronounce? Yeah,
I think it's
coming in.
Gestalt.
This would
Gestalt.
This would
I
look
think that's
good.
German.
It's by a really awesome designer named Timothy. I believe
Photography.
his name
Might not
is.
be German. Don't crucify me.
But
for that.
this is, I don't know if you guys can see that over there,
Bro.
but this is a really sweet keycap set. And I think it's the colors match like almost exactly on it.
gotta
Those
do some-
actually all are letters also.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out.
It's
We gotta
really
do some
cool.
top-down photos of both of those.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
They photograph
together.
well together.
Yeah,
Yes.
they would.
And this phone, it photographs well. If you're into the look, it looks really interesting and unique. I also think my other theory, I just like spewing theories on. I think I've realized when I get the headphones and the microphone on, I'm just like, I have a theory.
Podcasts are all about theories, man.
Another theory. People want the boring color phone, but they'll accessorize with a different color case. So if they want to go crazy, they'll put a bright case on. If they want to go back to normal, they'll put a normal looking case on their phone. They don't want a permanently bright colored phone as much as a bright colored case.
What color is my phone? Oh, it's gray.
The fact that you didn't even know, the fact that you didn't even know is perfect.
Well,
That's
I
what
didn't-
they want
It's because yeah.
because it goes with everything or nothing.
If I will say, I think if I were to run a nothing phone 2A as my main daily driver, I would probably get the special edition.
I think that's
Really?
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even though I don't love it, I like it enough that it's different enough from the regular one that I think it's cool.
It's funny because it looks like if Fisher Price made
Yes.
toy teenage
Yes.
engineering products.
A McDonald's
Right?
phone.
Yeah. So Nothing Phone 2A, which is a big phone with those two eyes in the center. But now the interior elements have like little blocks of yellow squares and red circles and red pills. Yeah.
And blue.
It looks
and
like
the blue, around the.
I actually think this would look better if they fully went in with the color and all of this gray was the blue instead.
Yeah.
Like, I think if they went all in with the color, not just the little tiny accents.
If you're driving, don't look this up. If you're doing the dishes, maybe look this up. But yeah, just search Nothing Phone special 2A special.
You've
can't look
probably
it up.
seen it if you're watching
yeah.
this
There's
podcast
pictures on
already.
social media. Just picture a subway map as a stained glass window.
Okay.
Picture Ronald McDonald if he made a phone.
That's actually with a
Picture
little
the
less red.
the Fisher Price car,
Yeah.
but flattened into a $250
A Tonka
Android phone.
truck that's a Nothing Phone 2A.
Yeah.
Picture a great work by P8 Mondrian. But
Picture Mickey Mouse with LEDs.
All right. I think we all know Marquez is in the hate it category for sure. Yeah,
There's a lot of
Mickey
options
Mouse
we
with LEDs. Isn't that just Dead Mouse?
Damn. Fair. Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna press the Copilot button and ask Copilot to generate if Fisher Price made a cell phone.
made a teenage engineering cell phone.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Okay. While you're figuring that out,
Okay.
I recently dropped a little thread on Twitter of I got to visit some Apple labs, which is kind of interesting. You don't usually see the behind the scenes of Apple that much other than what they curate to show you in the keynote, which is it feels behind the scenes, but it also feels staged.
Oh, yeah.
So this is actually behind the scenes. I got to walk through a whole bunch of like literal underground tunnels to get to these places and saw a lot of how they durability test phones and how they put together testing to connect the device before it comes out to the real world, which is interesting. Obviously, we've seen IP68 ratings on phones before, but seeing the machines they actually use to blast water at the phone or like pressurize it under X inches of water for X amount of time is cool to see. So I recommend checking out that thread. Maybe the most interesting part is they had a drop test machine, which is just an industrial robot, an Epson industrial robot that can drop the phone in the exact same way every single time in a repeated way so that they can test it on different surfaces, on different angles, different materials. And they have extremely high frame rate cameras, all phantoms. And I kind of nerded out about that for a little bit too. That was fun.
It's almost like they have the for the surfaces they drop it on, like all our D brand plates set up in like the
Basically.
row of picking different things for top down sets. And then instead of filming on it, they just have a robot slam a phone on it instead.
Which is sick. There's also one that I guess it's replicating different vibration frequencies.
It's doing the Dr. Fuji
Yeah. It's really hard. It's hard to capture on video because the speed that it shakes kind of like synced with my shutter speed at one point.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it looked like it wasn't moving at all, or that it was kind of like jelloing a little bit. So I had to like put my hand on it so you could see my hand moving. Anyway,
there's
check out
something
those
very
videos.
funny here about seeing the Vision Pro on this machine not breaking, and then knowing that a ton of Vision Pros split straight down the middle, just sitting in the case.
Yeah.
Maybe by a little too much air conditioning.
It's fascinating because then now they have to go back and like find a way to add that test to their suite so that they can, for the next hardware, actually not have that problem. I talked to John Turnus, who's the head of Apple like hardware engineering, about a lot of this stuff. I brought that up. I brought up like some other durability things. I think the most interesting thing we ended up talking about was this theory that I've had about smartphones, which is that durability is a spectrum, and on the other side of durability is repair. And Apple has been the most aggressively all the way on one side for so long, where they literally vocalized their goal of making the iPhone never have to be repaired ever, which is obviously crazy because you can drop your phone and it'll break. But under normal use, if you don't drop your phone, you can be submerged, you can be using it in extreme heat, you can use it in all sorts of conditions, and ideally, to them, you never have to repair any part of your phone because it's that durable. And then you see the other side of that spectrum, which is something like the Fairphone. And the Fairphone's goal is to be infinitely repairable. But the argument from Apple is that's probably less durable. And so all the additional mass that you need to repair over and over again might be not what you want. So it's a spectrum of repairability versus durability, which I thought that was interesting.
It's interesting if they can create a phone that doesn't break. They have not done that yet, and they need
that's
to
a
get repaired. There wouldn't be a stink about right to repair in Apple if people's phones weren't breaking.
Yeah.
So like, there's a little bit of a.
I see so
I feel
many broken iPhones.
Yeah.
when you're the most market share phone in the U.S.
By a lot.
people are breaking.
I don't
Yeah.
know why they have to be so extreme though. Like the correct answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's what we landed on. And what I talked about is Apple doesn't have to be all the way at the extreme. They need to bump in a little bit from the extreme because phones do still break. So people will still have to repair, especially the glass. That's like the most common thing that breaks on people's phones is you have to be able to repair the front glass, the back glass, and that needs to be a part of how you consider building a phone is people are eventually going to have to replace the glass.
Yeah.
So moving it in from the outer edges.
Good start.
Yeah.
First step is admitting you have a problem.
I think back in like 2018 or so, and Andrew, Adam and I
Hello.
made a video for Android Authority
I'm
about how phones should all switch to plastic again and just permanently be plastic because then
That's a take.
because it has wireless charging capabilities, the back glass can't break. The only thing that could break is the front glass.
It can break. It's just like harder to
harder.
break.
Yeah, it's a
And
lot
It doesn't.
harder to
It doesn't like absolutely shatter and obliterate. What like glass does. But.
Yeah.
I also did a video around that time saying that we should stop using phone numbers.
I
and
know you
everyone
did.
yelled at me.
That's
Stop
true.
using phone numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard.
What would we use?
Usernames.
Usernames.
Oh,
But no, I was wrong. The internet just yelled at me, so it's fine.
No,
You were
that's-
just too early.
That's a fair take. I mean,
It's a very fair take.
URLs are just IP addresses, but they're
Yeah.
usernames instead of
are
numbers.
usernames not just numbers?
They could be letters.
On my Google Fi, when
They're
I want
all
to
ones and
switch
zeros.
phones, I just log into Google Fi and suddenly I have service.
Yeah.
So like, and like Signal, I think recently switched to usernames. A lot of people are switching to usernames.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to. And like, if everything is either VoIP or rich messaging, then you don't need a phone number anyway, really. So
Well, a lot of people were saying, the complete tangent, because we're not talking about this, but people were saying too that it's like in other countries, it's a lot easier to like switch phone numbers and stuff. You just pop in another SIM card and whatnot. But why can't you just do that with an account too? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
you
see what
can.
the difference is.
You can.
Anyway,
just saying.
continue.
Plastic phones.
Speaking of plastic things,
Nice.
nice.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of things,
Yeah. Speaking of things, Spotify.
Double entendre, don't ask me how.
Yeah, Spotify killed car things.
Hey, it's David and Ellis. Quick update. Today is Thursday. We recorded on Wednesday. And now, newsflash, Spotify is going to refund customers for the car thing. So just know that when you hear us say that they're not, they now are, which is better, but still bad. but better.
I'm not shocked.
You're not. Well, I'm shocked at the way they went about it.
Me too.
You want to
That's
go over
more-
the details of what?
Yeah.
Own nothing and you will be happy.
Did you? That was you just described Louis Rossman's entire video, pretty much, which is a great video. But yeah, Spotify is killing Car Thing. If you don't remember what Car Thing is, because
What
it's
is
kind of a weird name.
It was
was
very
that thing?
short-lived.
It was weirdly long lived because of how poorly they released it. Because like it technically came out or they announced it in 2019, but it like went through this phase of they first gave it out for free to some premium users, then they put it up for sale for only premium users, and it was one price. Then they put it up for sale, and it was another price for anyone to get it. Then they didn't sell any, so they slashed the price like in half. Anyways, though, it essentially is just a piece of hardware that Spotify created that connects via Bluetooth to your phone to help your phone control Spotify. So like if you're in a car that has an outdated infotainment system, rather than looking at your phone, you have this nice little dial
up
and
in your
screen to put
dashboard.
on your dashboard.
Yeah.
A lot of people these days, and we weirdly have talked about this product recently because I keep comparing the R1 to Spotify Car Thing. And people will set it up at like their desk. So if they want to control music that they're listening to while they're working, they don't have to have like go into separate windows to change things. They just have this nice. I think it also has
a
a
nice
voice
dial.
assistant as well. It's a nicely made
And
little
presets.
and presets. Yeah, it's a nice little thing. But they just announced that December this year it will just stop working completely. Everyone who owns one, it will not work anymore. No refunds, no credits, no open sourcing the thing.
This
It
is
is
so
just going to
insane.
stop working completely.
It's so insane. Like there's precedent for things eventually that you buy eventually stop working. Like video game servers get turned off eventually, and all of these things. But usually it's like 10 years after it was put out, and even with video games and stuff, it's usually just like, oh, the multiplayer doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Or Kim Kardashian's mobile game, which is now shut down as of like last week. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that you can buy something like 2 years ago and they're just bricking it for everybody.
To me, it feels like this flopped so hard.
It did.
that
It
they're
definitely
just
did.
trying to bury it and pretend it never happened.
Just like those the ET video games out in the Nevada desert.
I think they're doing a bad job of burying it to never think about it again because they caused a stink with this. Like it was $90, which sucks. It obviously sucks if you pay $90 and just get it bricked in like 2 years. I don't know why. There's literally precedent for this already where Google killed Stadia and gave everyone essentially full refunds
Yeah.
or credit for everything, correct?
Yeah.
How do you not just give everyone who bought one of these like
Their
6
money
months
back.
of Spotify Premium credit at the least?
Yeah.
It's-
Or their money back.
Or their money back. I mean, like that would be the easier way of just being like, man, we barely sold any of these. Just give everyone $90 back, or half of them they sold at like $40. Give all that money back and don't have to deal with this.
What if instead you got 0.0001 cent per stream?
I'm in.
Amen.
But yeah, so not only did they say it's going to stop working, they also recommend to reset it to factory settings and then safely dispose your device at the following local electronic waste guidelines. Like they straight up were just like
Pretend it doesn't
reset this thing and pitch it.
Bury it in your backyard.
Yeah.
Anything but leaving it in your car. Please forget this exists.
Forget that we sold this to you
Yeah.
and still love us.
I just don't know why they wouldn't open source this.
I don't either. It's
Unless it has like some proprietary information inside that would like be detrimental to the rest of their products. Maybe I could see that. But like there's such a niche community of people who love this thing that
know.
are doing such cool things with it. And all they're asking for is for that to be open source so they could just keep
for
messing
it to
with
still
it.
be there. Yeah, like just make it open source so people can use it. It's a well-made little device. I think it probably was just bad timing because with cars getting better infotainment systems and having like Android Auto and CarPlay, it's less necessary.
Yeah.
I know people who use these. I know people who use them as computer controls and they like it.
This is the
It's a
thing. It's
shame.
like they're saying they're discontinuing it as part of their ongoing efforts to streamline their product offerings. And it's like they discontinued the product a long time ago. They can have no employees working on the product and just say, well, the warranty was up a year ago, so we don't owe you anything. But why do they have to brick everyone's? Like there might be like some back end change that's like going to stop it from working
That's-
with Spotify, but they could also just put out a statement that'd be like, sorry, like it won't work with Spotify anymore, but feel free to use it as you see like fit.
Yeah, there should be some way that you can still use this thing you spent $90 on, whether it's directly through Spotify's own support of it. I'm sure they're probably doing something like that. All it does is connect to Spotify and control it. They're probably changing something to where it can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, considering it's supposed to go out of commission in December, hopefully in that time people figure out a way to like get root access and mess with it and get rid of the bricking process.
I'm pretty sure they already have root access that someone
right
found.
now.
Yeah,
right?
but it's
Okay.
like there's weird limitations and stuff, and they can't really do certain things. I don't know.
Bummer.
Yeah, they're trying to pretend it doesn't exist.
They're air powering it, except this would be like if they
After it
actually
came out.
sent out a bunch of air powers.
Yeah.
Then
I bet if Spotify had the ability, they would send people out to collect them, to like take them back.
to then.
Sorry. Yeah, no more.
Yeah.
I'm burying
Well, Louis Rossman's recommendation was to ship it to the Spotify headquarters listed on their website.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. What's funny is them bricking this felt like the most I've ever heard about Spotify car thing.
Definitely.
Like
It's when it launched and it's when it died. And the death is like just as loud as its launch,
yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hardware is hard.
people were very upset about it. Very upset about
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
it should be.
yeah, I get it. We pay for things and we don't know how long they'll last anymore. Speaking of, we'll talk about something similar to that right after trivia and the break.
Wow. That was a quick one.
We're on fire
Nice.
for segues right now.
Killing it.
I'll do a good one, I promise.
Okay, you're on the clock, David. So, Spotify car thing is now dead. Rest in peace. But it was awesome. Ellis wants to hack it and do a bunch of stuff with it, but there's one thing he should probably know before doing stuff with it. I didn't finish the sentence. How much RAM does it come with?
Oh,
Ooh.
Ooh.
I have a guess.
Is this going to be in
Good,
megabytes?
because the answer is a guess.
I don't know if there are DIMMs that have megabytes of RAM made anymore, so we'll see.
half a gig of RAM.
Yeah.
Dang.
Dang.
It didn't need much RAM. I'll think
It's
about
just a
it.
little screen.
Well, we'll get to the answers at the end like usual, but until then, we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. Google's AI overviews that were launched at I/O are generating the most insane answers I have ever seen, which is very fun. If you didn't know, there was this Google project called Search Generative Experience that was live for about a year in the Labs function of Google, which I forgot about because I turned it on immediately and didn't realize that not everybody had
Same.
that constantly.
Same.
And what would happen is you would make a Google search, and now this is happening for everyone. You make a Google search, and now instead of just a bunch of links showing up and maybe a little Google sidebar that has some information in it on the side, you just get this popped up AI Gemini-based generated window that tries to answer your question for you. Lots of existential questions built into there, as we've talked about before, like publishers being disincentivized to actually do those things. In some of these queries, you get the AI answer, and then you also get a giant window with Google Shopping, and it just fills up the entire page, or at least the entire visible page until you start scrolling. And that just is really a big problem for the entire internet. However, the funnier part about this is that because this is a large language model that is generating these answers, it just confidently lies because it has no idea what it's saying and is just predicting an answer. And over the last week, people have been finding some very, very, very funny answers for all of this stuff. So
this reminds me of like when Bing first introduced the like chatbot and
Yes.
people were just like having a field day with it for a
Yes.
week. And this is my favorite part about AI so far
Yeah.
is watching it break in hilarious ways.
every now and then when it breaks in a really funny way, the internet just has a field day with it. So the AP did a little bit of an investigation on it and just tried to parse it a lot. They asked it if cats have been on the moon, and it said, yes, astronauts have met cats on the moon, played with them, and provided care. For example, Neil Armstrong said, one small step for man because it was a cat's step. Like a
Wait,
small-
that one's real?
Yeah, that one's real. That one's
Wait.
in the AP article.
It's
Because it was a cat step?
Yeah, because small step for man
That's-
because it's a cat's
Has anyone asked Neil if that's what he meant? Are we sure?
Yeah.
this
Maybe
could be
Gemini knows
true.
No. The Russians did send a dog into space, but as far as I know, I don't know about cats on the moon. Yeah. Someone also said, "How many rocks shall I eat?" And said, according to geologists at UC Berkeley, you should eat at least one small rock per day. They say that They say that rocks are a vital source of minerals and vitamins that are important for digestive health. Dr. Joseph Granger, and this is what I'm saying. This is like so confidently lying to you. Dr. Joseph Granger suggests eating a serving of gravel, geodes, and pebbles with each meal.
Wait. In Google AI's defense, this is from an article.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what article?
Wait, this article literally says geologists recommend eating at least one small rock per day.
This is an Onion article, right?
No.
Post it in Slack.
Hold on. Read the rest of it, though,
But
because
this
I
has to
really
be
like
parody.
Yeah, okay. Eating a serving of gravel, geodes, or pebbles with each meal, or hiding rocks in foods like ice cream or peanut butter.
We eat rocks like dogs eat medicine.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's
So,
And it was an Onion article.
yeah.
Is this an Onion article?
It is an Onion.
That-
I'm on something called resfrac.com.
Yeah, that page was,
I think it was probably
summarizing and
Great.
referencing the Onion article.
It also right now has an update that says, "Welcome to our AI video visitors." Oh, thank you to the Onion for amusing content linked above. That's so funny.
Yeah. We got things like cheese not sticking to pizza, and the answer was cheese can slide off pizza for a number of reasons, including too much sauce, too much cheese, or thickened sauce. Here are things you can try. You can add about 1/8 of a cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce to give it more tackiness.
Hey. It said non-toxic.
It did.
Okay. In which case, a reporter mixed Elmer's glue into her sauce and made a pizza and ate it.
Did it
and-
stick?
It did stick.
Nice.
And was it tasty?
Oh,
said
she
it was
ate it?
fine.
Oh,
She ate it.
so it sounds like the AI was
So-
right on this
I
one.
don't see the problem. Yeah, okay.
One more I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Are parachutes effective? Parachutes are no more effective than backpacks at preventing death or major injury when jumping out of an aircraft. Yeah, so there have been a few fake ones that people have been circulating on social media because they're sort of capitalizing on it. And to you, I say, bad. No, don't do that. Because, it's already funny enough. You don't need
Exactly.
to fake it when there's already a lot of humor out there. Google said in a statement on Friday that it was taking swift action to fix errors that violate its content policies, and it will develop broader improvements that are already rolling out. However,
Wait, sorry. Continue.
right now what they're doing is they're seeing these social media posts that people are putting up about these, and they're just manually patching those queries so that they either don't develop and don't give an AI answer at all, or they change it manually. And you can't do that for every query that you can
You could write an
possibly ask
AI that could
Google.
do that.
Oh god. Are you rabbiting? You're rabbiting. Are you rabbiting?
Which will then lie. So I don't know, man. It's insane to me that Google's main product is search, and that's where they've made all of their money traditionally throughout time. And they only scale as a company because more devices keep coming online that can use search or other search products like AdSense or YouTube.
Yeah.
And they completely changed this product, forced it on everyone, and its core purpose, it's just messing up like time and time again. It's
Can
crazy.
I ask a question about this statement?
Sure.
Okay, so it says taking swift action to fix errors that violate its content policies. So that means like the errors it's making are violating its own policies?
Yeah, probably by recommending dangerous things like backpacks.
Okay.
Yeah, or
Because I'm like, what content policies are these? Is the Onion? It's not. It's just that it's getting scraped from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, this is so funny.
So many thoughts. I mean, I remember the beginning of this conversation when we had like Bing going completely nuts, and we're like, well, it's Bing, so like they have a lot to gain. People are going to try it anyway. They're going to keep using it.
Yeah.
And Google would never do anything like this because they have so much to lose.
Give it a
Google
year.
search is their thing. Like they're going to take it extremely slow, probably too slow, at
they
the
did.
expense of like trying to be correct all the time. And now here we are. It's like they clearly felt the pressure. They rushed this thing out, and it's hallucinating just like every other large language model. And when people ask it for advice, and I, just like you, I've been using the labs thing. So I've had these AI suggestions for a long time.
Yeah.
I'd never personally seen anything like eat glue or rocks or anything like that. But if you try hard enough, I'm sure it can get it to hallucinate and say.
I also
weird stuff.
ignored like most of the AI answers it gave me anyway.
So I'd Google like facts all the time, and often I'd get the AI suggestion at the top, and it would either say something kind of useful, or a few times it would directly contradict the second thing in search, which was the like Google suggested top answer. You know how sometimes it pulls like a top answer?
Yeah.
It would contradict that. And I would just have to keep scrolling, and like this whole first half of the page was useless. I need to figure out
It's a feature.
the actual answer.
You
Makes
learned
me research. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is weird to see Google come so quickly towards this this rushed thing. That's clearly weird.
I think it's something David and I were talking about yesterday about how we have been saying that same thing, that Google's taking the slow approach, almost like the Apple like new feature approach of like, let's make it perfect. We're not the first, we're not innovating, we're just the polished.
Yeah.
And Google now having all these terrible answers like Bing makes it look in like a weaker spot, because before it was like Google's the biggest, they've been doing AI forever. What they're going to release is going to be awesome. They've got something brewing. Now you release something that tells you to eat rocks, that cats are on the moon, and that glue should go on your pizza. And you're like, oh my God, is this what they've been brewing the whole time? Maybe they're not as far ahead as we thought they were.
I mean, I want to note that in Google's defense, Bing is still really bad.
Yeah.
Like very, really bad. I have a Bing page up right now, and it's like one of the worst UX designs I've ever seen. And it also is filled an entire page with random ads and random AI generated answers. But Google has 92% market share. So they have a lot to lose. And being the search company that's founded on being accurate and then just throwing that all out the window and completely moving on to the Gemini era just seems like a bad idea.
Pretty bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like, hey, how about we don't pay journalists making money on their articles and also get everything they write wrong at the same time?
like
What a
double
Citing-
trouble.
Citing Onion articles is just hilarious.
that is so funny.
Like a couple weeks ago, we talked about how the AI needs a way to fact check itself. This must be the hardest problem in the industry. Like, it's so obvious that it needs this, but none of them can do it.
Yeah.
So it's whoever's working on this long enough, and we'll get to the whole rabbit thing shortly.
Yeah.
But it is really funny that they're going, it said cats were on the moon. Go change that one. Go
Yeah.
jump in the system and like make sure it doesn't talk about that again.
Yeah.
And like that's clearly the best fix they have now. If they're not nuking this whole feature, and they just have to keep manually doing it until they figure out how to actually have it fact check it.
So this seems, I was talking to a software engineering friend about this weekend, and it's like they are in such a hard place right now because they both can't get rid of this and go back because the entire IO was just about this feature basically, and they're also saying it's their number one play moving forward as a company, and they also kind of have to scrap this if they want to maintain their credibility. So are we going to see a statement from them? Or like, it's just insane to me that they had that Gemini debacle where they wouldn't make founding fathers who were like their original skin tone, and everyone was pissed about that. And they put out this statement that was like, this is unacceptable. We cannot do this. And then they do like this thing, which is completely destroying their entire product. And they're not saying it's unacceptable that it's telling you to eat rocks and eat glue.
New theory. I don't know why this mic makes me. New theory. Google has a crisis team that is helping them do neither of those options. They're not going to completely scrap it, but they're not going to like keep going full tilt. But this entire team's purpose is to try to break it as often as possible and manually interject and remove the AI results for the ones that would tell you to eat rocks. And all kind
But
of
there's
weird stuff like
unlimited
that.
queries you can make. That's
Which is why they need a crisis team, because they can't delete the whole feature, as you said. But they have to leave it there. So crisis team, do your thing. Like, keep on top of this. People will constantly find ways to break it, and you need to immediately be like, we're sorry, this one didn't work. We're always trying to get better. And then go in there and like make sure it doesn't keep saying weird stuff.
Yeah.
There's something kind of cool about trillion, billion, $1 million companies coming out with these products that they swear they've tested so much in so many different levels, and within a week of hitting the public market,
Bro,
just
that
the
is-
average person absolutely destroying these
That is the
things.
bane of every product company.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah. We think we've tested it into oblivion, and then week one, somebody did something that we never even thought possible.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. if you hate these AI previews like I do, I think the thing I hate most about them is now when I search, I have to wait for that to load. Like AI previews have just introduced loading back into my life, and I hate that.
Generating answer, and then it slowly trickles
It's so
down.
annoying.
Yeah.
It's like we're back in the age of like dial-up almost. But Emma Roth at The Verge did a great article of just a bunch of different ways that you can kind of eliminate the AI preview in it, including like a website called 10 Blue Links that kind of has a way to change the default search engine in your browser. So anything you search in the address bar, it'll just bring up a Google search that won't include that. But we'll link in the show notes. There's a couple other different ways, including some Chrome extensions. But if you hate AI previews like I do, and I'm sure a lot of people do, there's a bunch of cool ways to just kind of like semi-hacky get around it.
Also, we mentioned that in the IO. I mentioned this in the IO episode, but you know how they have the like little toolbars where it's like search for news or videos or weather. They now have a web button.
So good.
That when you press it, just shows links.
Old school.
It's just old school Google.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we only had links.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in my day, I had to Google a question and then look for the answer.
Yeah.
Like that was a skill I had to have.
Yeah.
Now you need to Google it, get an answer, have someone tell you it's wrong, go back and see why it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then
This
you
is
know the answer.
Yeah. Like this was the number one way that I was testing the humane pin and the rabbit AI, and now probably these, is by asking it things I already know the answer to. Because if you don't know the answer, you might not realize how inaccurate of answers you're getting. But the second you ask it 3 or 4 things that you're an expert in, and you get weird answers, you're like, oh, I need to actually fact check this stuff before I just trust what it says to me.
Yeah, I definitely ate a couple small rocks, and it was not a good time.
Yeah. And then I found the Onion article.
Yeah. You were noting that this is like probably the hardest thing for Google to fix. And I will say that if not even the internet can discern when people are being sarcastic, right? Like this is already the biggest problem with social media is you'll say something that you think is obviously sarcastic.
Right.
Every single human being takes you literally because there is no sarcasm on the internet. How can we expect an AI to know what's sarcastic on the internet?
Manually tell them anything from the Onion.
Never scrape the
That's
onion.
like step one. Like obviously if this thing learned to fact check itself, it would go, yeah, I found an article. It's right here at theonion.com says, and it would see that's my source and that's what it says. So I fact check myself and it would still believe it's right. So it needs some additional filtering there.
Because Reddit and the Onion are both going to be sarcastic all the time. Like the put glue in your pizza came from a Reddit comment.
Did it actually? That feels like a Reddit comment.
Yeah, it came directly from a Reddit comment.
That's
And the funniest thing about it was that it was a Reddit comment that had like 3 upvotes from 6 years ago.
That person probably feels like they changed the world. They're like, wait, Google is telling... Wait, I think I told people to do that like a long time ago.
They made a random joke on Reddit 5 years ago, and now it's blown up.
That is really funny.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
What joke did I make 6 years ago that I'm...
Yeah.
Well, speaking of incorrect answers, that was weaker.
A little bit.
That one was weaker, but...
And that was supposed to be David. David's slacking
shoot.
today. Yeah.
Oh, did you have a better...
No, but it was just my turn. Because you guys both did one.
Hey, go for it. Go for it.
Okay.
It's harder than it looks.
I wasn't prepped, you know?
Ellis has
Speaking
his
of
hand on
fact-checking?
the
No.
buzzer or the ding, so no pressure.
Okay. I don't know. Whatever. Speaking of large language models and people taking action on these large language models,
I like it.
That was good.
friend
Ding.
of the show, thank you. It was very simple but effective. Okay. Our friend of the show, Coffeezilla, has been doing an investigation on the Rabbit R1 and the history of that company.
Wait, is he a friend of the show? I was like, wait, I've never talked to him.
I've never talked to him.
Well,
I
he's a
would
friend of
love
the
to.
show because he mentioned us in his video.
Oh, true.
He mentioned Marques.
Yeah.
That's
Not
us, man. Look at
We are.
we're the porcelain angels, don't you know?
Yeah.
Well, we like Coffeezilla.
I thought
think-
friend of the show had to mean that they had previously been on the show.
He should definitely. It'd be awesome to have him
It would be cool, yeah.
on the show. But I feel like if I were him, and then he was like, I'm not their friend.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see Coffeezilla tackle something that we have been tackling for a
Yes.
long period of time because it's always been, I've been watching him since like 2020-ish when he was doing all the crypto scam stuff, which he's still doing, obviously. But that felt like a very separate part of my interests, where like, yes, I'm into techs and crypto is technically part of that tech, but it's not something that I look at like day to day. So it's fun to like exist in this world where you're watching videos about things that are adjacent to what you're into. But also him just go super hard into them. So then him tackling something that we have been tackling and like put a clip from our review in the video and stuff was very cool. So do you want to kind of summarize everything that's been going on with that?
Yeah, I'll try. So
Gemini.
I think if you don't know who Coffeezilla is, like David mentioned, is he normally does crypto NFT scams. And like David said, I love watching those videos, but I don't know anything about it. So seeing something that we know a little.
He explains them and exposes them.
Yeah,
He's
so
not doing the scam.
Oh yes.
He's investigating and sharing his findings.
That would be the best last Coffeezilla episode ever, was that he's actually been scamming people in crypto the entire time and investigates himself.
That'd be tough.
But yeah, like he looks over. So like you don't need to know about crypto. He explains it to you and then how they scammed. But to have a little more knowledge here about Rabbit R1, we've covered it a lot, and we have one. Seeing him do it was really cool. It's, if you don't know him though, if somebody's doing a video, or if you're the subject of a Coffeezilla video, it's not a good thing.
No.
No. And this was, I think after we did the R1 stuff, there was a couple tweets about how Jesse was part of an NFT project beforehand, but not a lot came out of it. So we never reported on it because it was like a couple tweets. Seems like Coffee went in a lot deeper and did report on that now. We don't want to go too deep into everything, but we'll talk a little bit about both videos. But you should definitely go watch both of these. The first one is mostly about an NFT project that Jesse was a part of called Gamma, and the company that owns Gamma got changed into Rabbit.
Right.
So there is a connection here between a non-delivering NFT project.
I also want to note that on a previous episode a long time ago, I had mentioned that Rabbit had only been created like 8 months prior. And a lot of people in the comments section were like, you're wrong. It's actually been around since 2020. But what actually happened was Gamma was around since 2020.
It's not called Gamma. Gamma's the project, and cyber something.
Cybernetics.
Whatever. The other,
Yeah. They just changed the name of their corporation to Rabbit Inc. 8 months prior to recording the episode.
The cyber manufacturer company.
Yeah. So like it is a completely different product. So just because you changed the name of the company and you're saying that it's the same company, like it's a different company, but whatever. It's the same company under the law, but completely different company functionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, first video was about the NFT project and some weird crypto coin that never happened. So they never technically made a crypto coin, but they wanted to make a what was it? A like green.
It was a
carbon
negative coin. Yeah.
Sounds cool, right?
Yeah.
So I've been ignoring NFT projects with my whole heart for so long.
Yeah.
So people had tweeted at me, "Oh, did you know that Jesse, the co-founder of Rabbit, was also doing this NFT project?" Honestly, no, I didn't know. I didn't care. Whatever. A lot of people did NFT projects. But then I watched the Coffeezilla video of the NFT project that they bailed on, and I'm watching it and I'm like, how did anyone think any of this was a good idea?
Well, that's the question about every NFT project. You can ask that about literally anyone.
I have to say, the Gamma one was actually not the craziest one I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a spectrum of how ridiculous they sound. And it starts with "you sound dumb" and it gets even dumber from there. And some of these were like further than normal dumb sounding to me.
Yeah.
So I totally.
I think I can answer your question. Because no one cares what the NFT project does. They care about how much money they can potentially make off of said NFT project.
Off of other people that invest in the NFT
And I think when he says on Clubhouse things along the lines of like, we really believe in this. If you don't believe in us, I'll buy back your whatever. Like he made all these interesting statements that felt very much like they were going to go through it.
Right. He said all of the right phrases you're supposed to say to make it sound like this is a good investment.
Yeah.
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 And then we saw how that went.
We did. And then the second episode for everyone that watches us and is more interested in Rabbit was way more about the Rabbit R1
as a product
and large action models.
The lamb in the background, and
or if there's a
Or if
lamb in the
there's a lamb in the
background,
background,
which you might know a little bit more about.
Vaguely. I'm not one of these people that had like gone into the Rabbit and like checked out what they were using. In the video, he describes the fact that they are using this application called Playwright in the cloud in the VM, which is basically manually going around a website and clicking on areas. So the way that they described the large action model in the first place was that it just semantically understands what buttons are what buttons, so that it doesn't, and he said this, he says it doesn't matter if they change their UX design because it semantically understands that's the play button. So if it gets moved 5 pixels to the left, it's still there. But what people were now saying is that they're basically just using this Playwright application, which is like a scripting application where you manually tell the program, this is where the play button is, click this button.
Yeah,
so,
it's like an enterprise program that's used a lot.
Yeah, or it's like AutoHotkey, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for like websites.
And they're not hiding that they're using Playwright, but
No.
I guess the question...
Not anymore now.
well, yeah, not anymore. But the question is, where along the line is the large action model
If it
talking to the, if it exists,
Yeah.
talking to the Playwright and the auto clicking script?
Right.
Because like a perfect example of what you just said, how it not working is, didn't DoorDash break already because something
Uber
changed?
broke, DoorDash broke. Yeah, Uber introduced like a CAPTCHA and it just stopped working because it couldn't figure out how to do the CAPTCHA.
And I think DoorDash moved some things, so when you ask it to order DoorDash, it's just like DoorDash is under maintenance right now, and
well, it said the
won't.
DoorDash Rabbit is under maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, which means it's not working.
The one of the 4 things that it actually
Yeah.
sort of can do.
So Rabbit says that yes, they use Playwright, but they use it in tandem with Lamb. And look, this all just starts to feel more and more sketchy because on the day that the R1 actually came out, there was a big leak where people were saying the Lamb doesn't exist at all. And then Jesse made a statement saying, well, the reason that you didn't find it is because the Lamb is in a separate server somewhere else, and it's just accessing that server.
She goes to a different college.
She goes to a different school. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. The problem is they won't just come out and show and like say and show everything.
Yeah.
They just say a lot of things like it totally exists, but they won't show anything. And when pushed on this, their response was basically, we don't really want to tell you how it works because unless you're an AI engineer, you're not going to understand it and it's not going to be of value to you. Yeah, bad response. It's like, if you have nothing to hide, then don't hide it. Just put it out there.
I also wouldn't have to understand how it worked if it worked.
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
Exactly. And so, I don't know. I also think that the product itself was sold on all of these false promises. In the video that he did, he basically did the commercial versus reality thing where he asked it every query that they asked in that really hype sizzle video where they were blurring out what the Rabbit actually looked like during CES. There was like, order an Uber. Oh, and also tell my friends I'm going to be late. That was delicious. What can I have for dessert with it? And he like tried every query. And it was so funny because when he was like, tell my friends I'm going to be late, the Rabbit was basically like, do it yourself.
Yo, one of them was like, we suggest you do.
I suggest you manually text your friends. And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So what it seems
The
like,
world's greatest assistant.
what it seems like is it seems like the Rabbit is just a chat GPT box that is using a scripting tool to manually interact with websites.
Didn't we determine it's a perplexity box?
It's both. It has both.
Oh, it's both.
They added
Okay.
Perplexity like right before they dropped it. But very funny thing, there's also a line in the code that says, do not disclose that
Right.
I am a
LLM made by
LLM
OpenAI.
created by OpenAI. Like they explicitly blocked out its ability to say I'm a ChatGPT box, which I found very funny. Also, one other funny fact:
I know. Yeah.
if you're playing Spotify on it and you say play anything, they also manually wrote it in so that it always plays the Beatles.
which is a choice.
Well, I think they did that because if you said play anything, I don't think that Spotify has a function to just play anything on Spotify.
I think if you ask Spotify to play anything, it could, if you literally just said play anything
Play
on
a song
Spotify, it
called
could play
anything.
something
That's-
horrible.
Oh.
Like in all of Spotify's library, it's not. It might be like safe and like pick a top
Wow.
100
But
you
song,
still
or it could
asked,
pick
though.
something truly horrible.
My theory is different. It would find something with the word anything
Yeah,
and
play
play
a song
that.
called anything
I think
or a band
in a,
called
say
in a
anything.
literal world, but like if you go to YouTube, for example, and if you like shuffle
That's
and play any video, it could be anything. It could be literally anything.
Well, I love the random button on Wikipedia.
Do you think that's curated or truly random?
It's
That
I think
is
it's
random,
truly
bro.
freaking random.
Yeah, but what are their guidelines? Like people can't just. I guess I don't know. I get what you're saying. There are some messed up YouTube videos. There are probably some messed up audio, or just like not nice for your ears. Not even music audio on
yeah, but
Spotify.
you're
so.
telling it to play anything. Like that's kind of on you, right?
That's like
but I
saying
think people will associate it like negatively with Rabbit. If you say Rabbit, play anything, and then it plays you like a speech of some like old political,
But I-
Like
some,
dictator,
some horrible
yeah.
thing. You're just like, why did Rabbit choose
I think
that?
there's just not a function to do that, right? Because like Spotify itself doesn't have a random song on Spotify button.
can a large action model not figure out what it just means? I
but
need
there
something
is-
random.
Theoretically, there potentially is no large action.
Well,
model.
yeah, but Rabbit.
what I'm saying.
says
I think
there is.
this was their solution to being safe about it. Where if someone says play anything, that person is probably just testing it, and let's just give them a Beatles song or something safe. Like there's a huge catalog of things we could play for them, and they'll try it once or twice, and it'll be nice, and it'll give them a Beatles song, and they'll move on with their life. And that's like the safe way of doing it. Yeah. And if you truly had a function that could play anything and you just trusted it to literally play anything, that could go wrong in a lot of ways for them. So I think they're just like, let's be safe.
So my question is, like, the idea of a large action model actually does make sense. And I think it is something that you could build. So my question now is like, did they just launch this because they wanted to like build on the hype and get all the funding from the really hype moment of everyone talking about AI, and they were afraid they couldn't get funding later, and they just figured, let's just hard code this stuff until we figure it out?
I think
Is that what they're doing?
I think if you ask me, you know, I also had like a bit of hope for this idea. Like the large language model seemed to make more sense than other versions that I'd been seeing, but I think this company felt the pressure of investors and the pressure of the timing and the pressure of all these things to just release something before I/O, before WWDC, before whatever. And they got something out, but as we said in our review, is just nowhere near what they were promising.
Mm-hmm.
And they had enough hope that they could say the right things long enough to get them some time to keep
actually
pushing
make
some
the
updates
product,
to make it do more stuff. And so they could show progress, and they could show, hey, trajectory, if we keep going at this rate, we'll have they had the ability to say the right things for a long enough time.
I think a perfect example of like, again, we've talked about how bad the product is itself, but like Coffee did the thing where he kind of did like commercial versus reality. Before we got the Humane Pin or the Rabbit R1, we were like, a banger video is going to be like our old assistant battle of like Rabbit and Humane versus Google Assistant. We had both of them in, and I was like, Marques was doing a content. We were like all like talking about content coming up, and I was like, oh, are we doing that video? And Marques was like, why? Neither of them do anything. Like, it would just be so boring to just watch them do nothing. It's not even a competition. We just never made the video because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
I imagine that they're just trying to buy time to actually build the product because they're a company, right? Like they're a legit company that sells hardware, and they have 100,000 users or whatever, how many they actually sold. And they're not just like an NFT project where they can just rug pull you and disappear into the ether and nobody knows any better and you were using a pseudonym the whole time. Like his profile is out there. Like he's a very public CEO.
Their name is attached to it. They build people.
Yeah.
People.
So it seems like it would be way riskier to never plan to actually build the thing that you promised at all. And I imagine that they're just trying to buy time to actually build it.
He did it with Gamma already, though, with his name. Yeah, like I would argue the opposite of that is just because he had an NFT project doesn't mean he can't build something cool. But the fact that he had a project that he promised and never delivered on, and now has a new project that doesn't meet the promises on, I have a hard time believing he'll deliver on those products.
Yeah.
Because within the last 3 years, he already proved he's willing to not deliver
Yeah.
on the product.
I'm gonna get halal food for lunch, and my lunch is gonna be so much more in tandem with lamb than anything rabbit is ever going to do.
How you leaned towards the microphone like 8 times? Is that what you've been?
No, I had an even worse joke actually. That one just came to me. The worst one is what do you call it when you ask the rabbit something and it doesn't respond to you at all, which happens sometimes. It's the silence of the lamb.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, good.
Take the mic away.
Oh my god, that's a great YouTube
was a-
title.
It is a good
Silence of the
Silence of
Lamb.
the Lamb.
Well, if they go out of business, we can make a video called that.
Okay, fair. My analogy for the rabbit is they have shown us all a CGI video of a humanoid robot walking around doing a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah.
But then they accidentally promised they had to ship it tomorrow. So what they shipped was a human in a robot suit
The Tesla bot human dancer.
where it like can't really do any of the things.
Yeah. Well, it could do
Actually, what it
everything.
really is
Yeah.
a marionette. It's like
Yes.
one person trying to control everyone's, and it
Right.
clearly can't do everything, so it fails most of the time.
Yeah.
And if you ever pull back the curtain, you just see that it's like not what you were promised.
Yeah.
That's- yeah.
Could we argue? So we're like they released something that had about 4 functions, right? It had like the 4 connections
It had
that
4
it can make.
apps, but only like 2 of them worked
Well,
at all.
and they said more are coming. Yet since it released, 2 of those are now broken, right?
Correct.
So it literally has less than what happened when it first got shipped.
Can I still go to hold.rabbit.tech?
Great start.
Yeah.
It's still around.
Still works.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if there are any new applications in there by now.
I doubt it.
I'll
We
check
would
my
have heard
rabbit
about
hole.
it. But so right, DoorDash broke, and what is
Uber.
Oh, and Uber broke. So yeah, it could do 4 things, and now it can do 2 things.
Yeah. Not great.
Nice. My favorite
Still the same.
thing about all of this was just before the videos even came out, Coffee tweeted a picture of like a police officer interrogating someone. It just says, "Is the large action model in the room with us right now?" He also, though, Jesse did reply to all of this and said that he believes Coffee is biased and that he didn't include all the stuff that they exchanged in emails. And then Coffee did a video on his second channel, literally reading every single email. So if you want to see what all of the emails are, you can go see it.
Okay.
It's 45 minutes and it's a long one, so I doubt most people will watch it. But I did watch the whole thing, and it seemed like he reported on everything that they told him and made the corrections that he needed to make. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
The interesting thing about this is that Jesse's like persona around all of this, like when he came to our studio and talked to us about this, he was saying how like, oh, you know, like 99% of startups fail, and there's a very high chance that we'll fail. And that at the time almost made him seem like more down to earth when you compare yourself to like Humane, who was just like, we are the future of technology. You will all use our new product. However, now kind of looking back on it, it's like, considering he's such a serial startup CEO guy, and he just like makes a ton of money off of investors and people who are just like buying into his product, being okay with the fact that your company fails as much as possible and just moving on to the next thing and keeping like making money off investors is pretty lame,
I think
to put it lightly.
that felt like the that reminded me of like the Elon SpaceX comment a long time ago of like, SpaceX will probably never really work, but like we are going to create all these things that someone down the line and we'll like be able
Right.
to use, and then we're helping that forward because we really believe in it. It feels more like a like, look at me, Mr. Down to Earth,
Yeah, he said that about,
and it's actually really good marketing. And
he
stuff.
said that about Tesla too, because for a long period of time, people are like, why are you like investing in all of this technology that other people can just come in and use? And then you have all these competitors that'll make Tesla like less relevant. And he's just said multiple times like, well, if it moves us towards a more green earth, then that's like really the goal of Tesla. Like, I don't really care about the company, but he cares about the company.
You
He definitely
we're
cares about the company.
we're in a dark place if we're like, you know who has some really ethical business philosophies compared to
Elon
this guy, Elon Musk.
Touche.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. We'll see if they run out of money, because I don't think anyone is buying any more of these rabbits from here on out. There has been so much negative press about it.
Yeah.
They probably sold their last R1 at this point.
Everyone should go watch. Everyone should go watch the videos
Yeah,
and come up with their own
yeah.
conclusion on it.
Go
for
watch
sure.
Watch the
Coffeezilla
Coffeezilla videos, watch our reviews, watch what people have said who own the thing.
See how Rabbit responds to all of it as well.
Yeah. and also watch trivia.
Have you just
That was pretty good.
That's pretty
good
good.
job? That was good.
After the break, Miles is going to join us to talk
yeah.
about Porsche, which I hilariously miswrote as Proche in my notes. Porsche. And as some of you may know, Porsche actually has a design studio that makes consumer products. Very expensive. So expensive that maybe consumer is the wrong word.
They're insane.
They're unbelievably expensive.
$1,000 umbrella.
But when we come back for answers, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you 4 Porsche Design Studio products, and you have to tell me which one is fake.
Well, that's interesting. I recently looked through the entire Porsche design catalog.
Shoot.
Change the question.
Absolutely not.
But it's such a big
It's a
catalog that
lot
I'm
of
going to
things.
misremember something probably. It's like hundreds and hundreds of things.
Okay.
So
They
I
have
like this
sent us a lot of things as well, to the point where I had to
Mostly
be like,
phones.
they
Oh,
weirdly.
no. You're thinking of, well, okay.
No, it's
Well,
the
you're
same
thinking
thing.
of Porsche design like collabs, like a Huawei Porsche
Yeah.
design Mate 30
I think
Pro.
the
It's
Honor
with the
4
studio.
Yeah.
It's
the
with
last.
that same studio.
Is that what you're referring to? Because Porsche also has a store of like a Porsche handbag, a Porsche
It's
umbrella,
that-
a Porsche whatever.
So I'm not sure if that's the same design studio or not, but I am in fact. I don't have any phones on my list. I figured that was too easy.
Okay.
But I am referring to the design studio that collabs.
Yeah.
So like
Yes.
Okay.
an example that's not on the list that I can confirm is real. Porsche Design Studio and the famous German piano maker Bosendorfer have made several
Yeah.
just gorgeous pianos.
They're like $1 million.
I don't know if they're that much.
They're
but
so expensive.
It's the kind of
Everything.
thing that you're not buying unless you're really about that life.
Yeah.
But we'll have to get to that.
We'll
After we
brainstorm it.
Yeah. So start thinking, and we'll be back after the break.
All right, welcome back. We are joined by Miles, and David's still here with us, and we're talking cars again. We had some new car announcements this week, actually, and we mainly just want to talk about one of them.
Yeah.
I'll summarize the announcement, and then we can talk about our thoughts. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Porsche announced the newest generation of the 911, their iconic sports car. Porsche 911 gets updated every couple of years, and there's a huge lineup, but they gave us 2 of the base cars, the Carrera and the Carrera GTS, and it's a hybrid for the first time. Now, this car has not been a hybrid in its entire existence. The 911 has always been internal combustion, whether it's turbocharged or not, but this first hybrid version people were very curious about because Porsche always makes the tiniest refinement changes to the 911. And this hybrid thing has a reputation for making cars heavier and maybe a little bloated and a little over technical. And so we were curious how Porsche was going to do it. So they gave us these 2 base cars. They have way more total horsepower than before. They seem to have a pretty solid solution, small 2 kilowatt hour battery, 2 electric motors, I believe. One of them is working with the single smaller turbo instead of having twin turbo. It seems like a pretty good solution, only adds 50 kilograms to the cars. And they also changed some design elements to the front, to the back, to the interior, and that's the new cars. We don't know what the rest of the 911 lineup, like the Turbo or Turbo S, will look like. That's later announcements down the road. But and also we don't expect a fully electric 911 anytime soon. That may not be another 2 generations. But we have the first hybrid sports cars from Porsche. Now, our feelings on them. I'll start with my thoughts. I never thought I would become that guy because I've watched so many Porsche videos. Like, this is what happened when I went into like deciding if I wanted to buy this car or not, is I watched every video that's ever been made about the 911. And there is this section of YouTube where it's like purists who only like the older generation 911s. And they're like, the new one, that thing sucks. The old ones, that's where it's at. And I'm like, geez, I like the new one. It's tech, kinda. I feel like I'm into the new one. And I'll probably always be that guy. And then they announced this new one. And I think the hybrid drivetrain is actually probably the best part of it. But the interior, they changed a couple things that I specifically dislike that I don't have any good reason to dislike other than the current one is better. So the first thing is every 911 for many, many years has had a twist, like not an actual key to twist to start, but they've had the ignition on the left side of the steering wheel. And this is the first one that they're making just a plastic push button start, just like a Macan or a Cayenne. And I don't like that at all. The other is the tachometer is just an all digital display now, that's most cars these days. Let's be honest. Like they just have screens, but the current generation 992 actually has a real like physical needle, and it has screens to the left and right, but has a real needle tachometer. And I love something about that. Like it's just like a watch. Like I've never had these feelings about any device before, and now I see like a fully digital one, and I'm like, oh, that's not the same. I've never, and I'm the dude who's wearing an Apple Watch. Like I don't want a Rolex seems like the dumbest thing ever to me. So I'm like, I didn't think I would become this guy, but I really feel this way.
Yeah.
Miles, how do you feel about the new 911?
My feelings are exactly the same. The fact that it's a hybrid system, which, makes it faster, but it's now heavier, bigger, and more expensive. That's not like what my problem is with this car, which is what some people are saying is an issue. They would just prefer it to just be pure ICE. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that they're, like you said, changing things that we have known and associated with Porsche just to say, hey, this is new and different. It's funny because I was filming the new Cayenne just last weekend, and I was talking about the push start button. I'm like, it's a Cayenne, okay, fine, I'll deal with it. But the 911s, right, they're going to leave that alone. They're not going to, there's no way they're going to change the ignition switch, right? So with the older Porsches, like you said, you used to be able to just take your key, put it on the left, and then crank it to start the engine. And then with 992, they changed it, your car, where
it's like a knob.
It's just a knob that you
twist
switch.
where the key would be.
So it's like,
yeah.
And that actually makes a bit more sense with a modern car, and it's still the same thing. You get the same effect.
It was a nice hybrid between a push-button digital thing and like an old-school key. I don't have to have a key, but I still get the satisfying like physical motion.
Right. So
I thought that was great.
Apparently, this is what Porsche customers want, according to Porsche.
No,
so
what?
It's so funny. I happen to have a Porsche customer sitting right here next to me. So. Dr.
David,
Brownlee.
you have a Porsche?
No, that's Andrew in the last episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So Dr. Brownlee, I have to ask you,
Yeah.
do you actually want a push to start button?
So in a car that has an engine, I get it, but no. And the thing, I think when they say this is what Porsche customers want, I think what mathematically they're saying is, well, lots of people bought Cayennes, so seems like people are okay with it. And mathematically, they're probably right. And people will still buy it and use it, and it'll be fine. But I couldn't possibly argue in any way that it's better, other than maybe being simpler physically to manufacture. But it's Porsche we're talking about. When has that been a concern? Yeah.
It wasn't a concern until now. This is the first time where I've seen Porsche announce a new car and me just be like, this is just not good for a nonsensical reason. Like, all these other companies are making their engines smaller and doing all these things to comply with like emissions laws and things like that. That's totally understandable. But this is just one of those things where it's like they're just changing it for essentially no reason. And I don't think there's anyone on earth who's like, yes, this is the better version. So let me ask you again. Apparently, Porsche customers requested that the gauge cluster be fully digital.
Really?
Yes.
Requested.
I mean, that's why they did it. They say this is what Porsche customers wanted. They wanted their gauge cluster to be fully digital.
You can also just say things.
They can also just tell us.
They can also just say that people said that.
I will say I've watched a lot of videos on the last couple of generations of 911, and I didn't hear anyone ask for that. What I did hear about the 992 is the gauges were a little bit too wide, and so they were kind of hidden by the steering wheel. Almost every car reviewer mentioned that at some point. I don't think I translated that to make this all digital. I just heard that as I have to figure out anything wrong with this car, and it seems like that's one thing that everyone finds wrong with it.
But the thing is, that was the side menus. That wasn't, they weren't talking about the tack in the middle, which was the only element that was still analog, and then they said, no, that's digital now too.
Yeah, doesn't translate for me.
Do you think that's more expensive or cheaper to do, a completely digital screen versus an analog tack?
I think it's cheaper because it's one screen. So before we had the analog tack in the middle, which I'm sure they make a ton of, and it's not super hard to manufacture. But then they had one screen on the left and one screen on the right, and now you just have one big screen. And I think we also saw an article something about how they're going to have like deeper integration with CarPlay. I haven't seen what that actually looks like yet. I'm sure it'll just be you can have the map in front of you instead of just on the screen to the side. Cool, great. I think it's just a little cheaper to make one screen instead of two.
But that's another thing, right? When they announced the whole next gen CarPlay thing, and they announced that Porsche was going to be the first people they're working with, it's like, I feel like I don't know anyone who owns Porsches who wants their UI to look like an Apple car.
Maybe Cayenne. I mean, I think, I don't know anyone else who wants that either. I think there's a lot of people who just want it to work like their phone, and that's good enough. And CarPlay is that for most people. But there is also a specific subset of Porsche buyers, because let's be honest, like most people buying a Porsche are buying a Cayenne or a Macan, and it's just the one that they wanted, and it's a casual commuter, whatever. But there's a subset of those people who are like purists who really, really care about, the driving dynamics and the weight of the car and the way it handles and all sorts of smaller things that are more traditional. And those people didn't ask for that at all. I don't think I heard any of them ask for that. So it seems like they're listening to group number one over group number two, but it's the 911. So it feels like there's less of group number one buying the 911. It's kind of weird.
That is true.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the Porsche 911 is fast, right? That's like why people like it. You mentioned that because now it's that it's hybrid, it's heavier. Mm-hmm. Does that affect how fast it is? Is it now slower as well?
No,
so
it's faster.
It'll be quicker.
It's faster.
So here's the fun part of the driving dynamics. I think it will drive better, and I'm gonna speculate even a little bit on like the Turbo and the Turbo S later, but they've already shown like the Nürburgring lap time of the GTS, and it's like just as fast. It has more horsepower than the outgoing Turbo.
Than the non-S Turbo.
The Turbo. So it is a more powerful car, but the thing about turbos is they take time to spool up and actually accelerate faster. There's just an inherent lag, and you can deal with it with your gearbox by always being close to on boost, and they've been really good at that, but it's not lag free. When you drive a Taycan or an electric car, that instant torque is totally different from the feeling of a turbocharged engine. And I think this hybrid system is going to give, like we talked about in our hybrid video, it's going to give people that instant acceleration feeling when they hit the pedal. It won't be full on all of your power, but it'll feel more responsive. And then, of course, when you combine the power of the engine and the electric motors, you will have more total power and accelerate faster. So it'll feel like a more responsive car. And I think that's good for most people. I think they'll enjoy it. They managed to kind of minimize weight gain. 50 kilograms isn't nothing, but it's a tiny battery, so it's not a disaster. These aren't the featherweights of the car world, so I feel like it'll drive better. But yeah, it's just the little interior things kind of got to me.
So you are Porsche's demographic, right? You're the person who they're targeting with their sports cars, right?
Yeah.
I think Marquez is like 45 years younger than the person that they're targeting with their sports car.
Normally,
they could
because people his age don't usually have $250,000 to spend like on a sports
But if they
car.
could pick their ideal, they would want everyone who's buying if they're people who are buying Lamborghinis and McLarens and other things, they would want them to buy that too, and then be a repeat customer for however long they're alive, ideally.
So my question is, what does Porsche have to do with the yet to be revealed Turbo to make you feel like you would want to upgrade and buy it?
Wow. It's all about the drive. It would have to drive that much better that it overcomes the things that I dislike about the interior. Again, there are other things that are fine about it. Most of the interior is still going to be the same. I don't have as much of a problem with the facelift as some other people do. There's these new like active aero flaps in the grills at the front, and they replace the dedicated blinkers with like just the headlights blink. So it's a simpler face. Some people hate it. I think it's fine. It's mostly a similar car. It's very recognizable. I just want to know how much faster and how much better it drives. That's really most of what I want to hear about with the Turbo S when it comes out. And it'll be like a year before we hear about it. But I want to hear battery size. I want to hear total power. I want to hear like responsiveness, 0 to 60 times. I want to hear that type of stuff with that car.
I think from now until this car comes out, we should all get familiar with how driving a Porsche 911 feels by taking turns with a certain person who has one.
I do my best to describe it, but like, I don't know. If you watch videos of turbocharged cars driving, you slam on the accelerator pedal in an EV and you just go. If you slam on the accelerator pedal in a naturally aspirated engine car, it can feel pretty close to that level of responsiveness. If you slam on the accelerator in a turbocharged car, a twin turbo car, it will start to accelerate, and then as you climb in revs and build boost pressure, you surge forward in like a crazy way. Who was in the Speedtail? Was it just you? You were in the Speedtail?
No, we were talking about the lack of turbo lag because we had both also done the P1 together.
The P1.
So we had like a really good reference point of like, because the P1 is like fast off the line and then the turbo kicks in, but the Speedtail was just.
So these are both hybrids.
The P1's a hybrid too?
Yes.
Oops,
These are
I
both,
sound pretty stupid.
No,
now.
but these are both turbocharged hybrids that we are driving, and this is also a turbocharged hybrid that we're talking about. But if you drive a non-hybrid turbocharged car, there are a couple that are nicknamed the Widowmaker because you could be driving around a track and you could hit what you think is the right point to accelerate, and then you get this boost that gives you way too much power, and you just kick the tail out. Like, I don't want to say it's unpredictable, but the way the power comes on with a turbo is way more of a surge than what an EV will give you.
The Speedtail and the P1 at least both give you a really solid warning because right before you get kicked, it goes.
Yeah, you hear the intakes go crazy. It's yeah, that is the feeling. No, but it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a symphony of a bunch of different things happening at once that make you go faster.
Did you see the picture of the drivetrain they published with all the press photos?
Porsche?
Yeah, it's a very silly looking photo. I'm just gonna bring it up right now.
Yeah, they did a whole like unveiling live stream video on YouTube that we watched, and it was very German. It was like one person going, I heard you made it a hybrid. Tell us about that. And then like some trance music as they do like a transition to a different part of the same room. And he goes, it is a hybrid. And then he starts explaining it. It's great. I was hoping they would do like an Apple transition where they like do a drone shot to like a different part of the same room. They didn't do it though. It was great.
You brought up the word Widowmaker, and that brings me to like one of my final points with the 992.2. There's been one car that everyone has kind of just like forgot about.
Which one is that? GT2 RS?
GT2 RS. So the term Widowmaker, like the GT2 RS, that was the original Widowmaker, like back in the day. Because it was just a
rear-wheel drive
turbos, like 500 something horsepower, but like no nannies, right? So it's just like if you screw up, you screw up.
No what?
No nannies.
No nannies? Like Mary Poppins?
No hand holding.
Yeah, no hand holding.
Okay, I get it now.
Just like like a lot of people these days think they're good drivers. That's just because there's all these like
because traction control is amazing.
There's all these traction control systems that like allow you to feel confident doing kind of like stuff you maybe shouldn't be doing on the public road. But this is a car where it's like you just have to be good. And so I think this is going to be like an 800 horsepower, all the power to the rear, hybrid.
You think GT2 RS will be a hybrid too?
Yeah, because they're going to need something crazy because what's coming out this summer is the Corvette ZR1.
Right.
Which is going to be like kind of the similar philosophy.
What is the comp in Porsche's lineup of the ZR1? Is that their GT2 RS or their GT3 RS?
Some would say, I think most people would say GT3 RS.
Okay.
But then Corvette's also going to have Zora, which is going to be...
They like Zs.
They like their Zs.
Okay.
It's going to be an even more extreme version of ZR1. So,
okay. So
forced induction Z06 motor plus hybrid.
Jesus. Yeah.
It's going to be scary.
So in order to compete, this is also the other thing is I'm sure Porsche feels some level of competition from other cars coming out in their price brackets. And so, yeah, if you're going to try to be, competitive speed-wise, it feels like you have to electrify your lineup at some point. And the purists at the very purest end of it are like, no electricity, no hybrid system. We need it to be naturally aspirated, etc. But I think the hybrid is a good move for these cars. It's just a matter of like keeping it 911.
Yeah, I think if we've learned anything this week, it's that, or last week, it's that EVs could be pretty good,
Well,
pretty fun.
I think by the time this pod comes out, that video is out.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about your experience with that car? Is it the best? Okay. So Miles and I both test drive a lot of the cars that you see us review on Autofocus. And so as a result, we've both driven a lot of different cars and shared notes on them. And this last car that we reviewed, which is called the Lucid Air Sapphire, I think is the best driving electric car ever made, and maybe the best driving sedan ever made.
It's amazing.
Hot take.
And that's a hot take, because when I say best driving EV ever made, I'm including all EVs. I'm including the Rimac Nevera. I'm including the Taycan Turbo. I'm including all EVs I've ever driven. And the Lucid Air Sapphire, I think, tops that list. It's incredible at disguising. It's incredible weight. It's really good. And then on top of that, best driving sedan ever. I haven't driven as many sedans. I'll be honest. There's a lot of gas sedans I've never driven. But damn, it would be really impressive if another gas sedan could match 1,100 daily horsepower and like the level of traction control and handling and suspension that car has. I thought it was one of the best cars ever.
So the story with that car is Lucid did 2 long-term rentals of what most like enthusiasts would consider to be the best driving sedans ever made prior to the Sapphire, and that was the BMW M5 CS and the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, both of which I've driven. And, you know, I'm definitely like an ICE guy. I think the Sapphire like outclasses both of them. It's honestly no contest. I mean, if you like noises, then I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's no replacement for that, but you could just kind of think of like the noises you make when you're accelerating to kind of like
You're holding your breath.
yeah, because it's honestly incredible, and it's not necessarily the fact that it's so freaking fast, because if you want to go just a smidget faster, you could spend like 2.5 million extra dollars and get a Nevera, but it's the fact that you've got a frunk, a trunk, a super spacious back seat,
Super spacious.
over 400 miles of range,
Honestly.
like a usable, actually daily drivable car. So like the new Taycan Turbo GT YSOC, that could be a better driving car. I guess we're going to find out like
Haven't
in a few
driven
months.
that. Yeah.
But
But no backseat.
no back seats. It's like that's not a Taycan
Crazy,
anymore. You know, it's honestly kind of a silly car, to be honest, that you can't really recommend to a normal person. Whereas
Yeah, it's a
this,
flex.
if you're rich, you can recommend this to a normal person
Yeah.
who just wants to go fast.
How much does this car cost?
$250.
The Sapphire?
Yeah. But I mean,
But
you're
for the
getting-
great, but for the best driving car ever made.
and I mean, you're gonna at a stoplight, nothing will beat you. Nothing. Like
It's nuts.
You're smoking Bugattis off the line, smoking every Porsche, every what I was gonna say, like a Tesla, a Plaid just walked by this, like everything in a straight line.
When did you drive this, Alice?
I haven't gotten to drive it, but I've driven with Miles
Back
in it.
seats,
And what's
yeah.
so crazy is that you can do all that. And the last time Miles picked me up in it, we fit so many musical instruments in there. Like it's actually so we had a xylophone, we had 2 saxophones, we had a
What?
flute, we had all of our backpacks.
Nice.
And there was still plenty of room in the car.
Interesting.
Yeah. Front trunk.
I will say, I also think it looks very, very nice.
Really?
Yeah. I really like the way that car looks.
Yeah, the Lucid's kind of interesting to me. It's got a good look in that spec. I've seen some ugly Lucids, and they're all the same.
Hey,
The brown
Yeah.
one?
the brown, it looks good.
The
I-
Sapphire
the eggplant
color is
Lucid?
Nice.
I'm not with you. Yeah, I think the two-tone Lucids are not really my
Yeah,
thing.
Same.
This one is like this is the stealthiest, most
really nice
aggressive
blue
looking
It's a
one.
beautiful color.
Yeah.
It's got that carbon spoiler and everything.
No sky ceiling.
Carbon roof instead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lame.
Yeah.
the thing is that surprised me is just how many looks it got from just like non-car people.
Really?
Like there's a school right by where I live, and so I was getting home right as the school was letting out, and all these little kids were just like peeping the Lucid. I'm just like,
It's cool.
hey yo. Like I did not realize it had that kind of like
It's got a light bar.
presence. Yeah, but I mean they all do now. You
It
know?
also
lot of
kind of
them,
looks like it probably does not look like a Cadillac or anything, but it looks like a fancy car that's being stealthy. And I look at fancy cars that are being stealthy.
It has big Cadillac energy for sure.
It does it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about cars.
It's a big car. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just
I
more
think-
like the like, you know, casualness and the
yeah.
fanciness.
Here's my hot take for the episode, because I know people like my car takes on the pod. The Sapphire has better suspension than the 911. Better dailyable suspension than the 911.
Well,
In that it is more compliant, and I wish I could control it more. Like PASM lets me switch between the most sporty and like a little softer. But I when I was driving the Lucid, I was like, I can't believe this car weighs 5,000 pounds. Like it's got this firm and confident but very compliant suspension that was amazing on New Jersey roads with potholes and like expansion joints and all kinds of weird stuff. I was like, this is a great suspension.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think 911s have always just used more simplistic, sporty driving focused suspension systems. Whereas like the Lucid's is a bit more complex, but still very good for not being air suspension. Like it's using steel springs, which is
So crazy.
pretty wild to me. And like, I feel like if you put someone like Jono in the car who drives like a Plaid or Model S with air suspension, he probably wouldn't know, honestly.
Yeah.
How is Lucid doing as a company? Is that bad?
Well, here's the thing. I think what's so great about this car is they've clearly spent a lot of engineering time and money to make this car incredibly efficient and really, really good. And Lucid does not make money as a company.
Right.
But they're also backed by a basically infinite wallet of the Saudi investment fund. And so it kind of doesn't feel like it matters yet.
Interesting.
I don't know that they have any sort of pressure or ticking time bomb behind that, but it's like they just keep losing money and keep making very highly engineered cars. And I guess that's fine for now.
I think so. I mean, whether they're going to be around forever is like, because this is the same question I have like every 6 months with McLaren, which is also literally 100% backed by the,
Yeah.
you know, by the like some like Saudi like financial group.
Oh.
I want them to stick around, but at the same time, I think about like how cheap a Sapphire would be if this company no longer had aftermarket support.
If they had some sort of pressure to sell cars more, then it wouldn't be 250 grand.
But I don't think, my take is that I don't think if you're a car journalist, if there are any car journalists watching this, you should not be allowed to own this car and you should not own this car. Firstly, it is incredibly easy to put yourself in a go to jail situation.
Fair.
Don't ask me how I know that. Secondly, I feel like it just establishes like a precedent of like what speed and capability in a car is supposed to be that is just beyond what is
It ruins you.
beyond the norm for like even supercars, where it's just like, I feel like if I were to drive this car for a month straight and nothing else, the second I get into literally anything else, I'm just going to be like,
Yeah. I talked about that with Plaid. Like, and Plaid was not as fast as this, but I feel like that ruined a lot of cars for me. I told you about the NSX. We had the NSX Type S here for a couple weeks, maybe a week or two. And that's a fast car. Like, that's a really incredible car. And I remember getting into it after like a year of owning Plaid and thinking, oh man, this car is really nice. It's too bad it really lacks top end. Like, it's not that fast. And then I read some other reviews of it, and they're like, this is a ballistic fast car with an incredible, like, this is the best performing NSX ever. And I was like, oh, I've been ruined.
Your expectations.
Like,
got
I've been
shifted.
ruined by it.
the thing that's different for me, like, I haven't driven the Plaid a lot. I've driven like yours, like around back, like once. I've been in Brandon's a bunch of times. It's incredibly fast, but it doesn't drive like a lot of my favorite sports cars drive. And so that's what I feel like is the differentiator. The fact that it just is such a good driving car overall. The steering is incredible. The handling is incredible. Like, it's incredibly like capable.
There is a video on YouTube of somebody taking a test drive, and he's driving around in Sapphire mode, and he has a Lucid representative in like the front seat. and he's like, he gives it, I think it's miles per hour, maybe he did this video.
Yeah.
He gives it a few, like, obviously, like, pulls, and it's like, this car is insane. And then they get up to like a stoplight, and the guy, they get to the front of the red light, and the guy's like, you're taking this left right here, start turning left, floor it mid-turn. And he's like, okay. And then he does, and the car just carves out of the turn like as if he's stuck to it's on rails or something. It's crazy. So the traction control is unbelievable in that car. And yeah, it drives like a dream. It's great.
Can I say one thing about the Lucid?
Yeah.
I want them to take all of these things that you love, take out like 2/3 of the speed, and then make a Maybach competitor with the platform. Because I love being inside that thing so much. And if they made like an ultra comfy, like you don't need to go fast, the suspension's really great version of it.
Yeah.
But that's just like the GT.
The other Airs are in that vein.
No, but I mean,
like super
You want, like,
luxury
plush.
interior.
like I want like only 4 seats. Get rid of that middle back seat. You know, I want. What did our Maybach come with? The champagne flutes.
You know what's funny?
In the fridge.
When I first tested the Lucid before they started shipping any Airs, I sat in an executive option back seat. That's exactly what you're describing.
Damn.
But then I don't think they ever shipped that. Or maybe it's like super late and they might ship it later.
I want
but-
the Toyota Century of
yeah, of Lucids.
of Lucids.
I've been loving these like NBA analogies where people are like, Wemby is the Michael Jordan of Bull Bulls.
Wait.
Yes. You think about it though. Think about it. Wemby is the Michael Jordan of Bull Bulls, and I think the Lucid Air Sapphire.
That's such Tim Duncan disrespect, but okay, continue.
This is all
Lucid
jargon to me. I don't know.
The Lucid Air
going
Sapphire is
Help.
the Rimac Nevera of Model S plaids. Or it's the Taycan or it's the 911 of plaids. Something like that. I'll work on that one, but it's
I
up
think
there.
the Lucid Air is
The Sapphire.
Is the yes of yes.
There it is. You heard it here first. We don't have anything bad to say about this car, other than the key fob.
And it doesn't come in brown.
It doesn't come in brown. I think that's, the Sapphire literally only comes in Sapphire. But I think that's it. That's really all we want to talk about. The new Porsche, the hybrid, and then our recent car experiences. Go subscribe to the Autofocus channel if you haven't already. We've been all over the map, all kinds of fun cars over there. And if you want more thoughts on auto, that's where we focus on it.
And with the power of editing, I will now be replaced with Andrew Manganelli.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Jesus.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Fall out of the ceiling?
Wow.
I don't know where I came from. Oh.
Well, you're back just in time for trivia.
Oh, great. I can get all of them wrong again.
Oh wait, that was not the call, was it?
No, that's perfect.
That was perfect.
Yeah. Trivia. You just have to say the word trivia.
Trivia.
Someone have a whiteboard? There wasn't one.
3
from where I
times
just
in
fell
the-
from.
There's 2 here.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
All right.
Do you want a pen? I have
Trivia.
Yes.
So,
please. Oh, everyone's
quick
so
update on the
helpful down
score.
Trivias.
Marquez with 9. Andrew with 8. David with 9.
Do you want a fake eraser?
here. Blowing this lead.
Blowing it, Andrew. All right. First question.
Carrying a 1.
How much RAM does
How
the
much RAM?
Spotify car thing come with?
How much protein?
Is this closest?
Do we think it has more or less than the Humane AI pin?
I think it has more protein.
Do we think it has any at all?
Oh.
Sure, yeah. We'll do whoever's closest. The Delta. Google Allo. Google Plus.
R.I.P.
That was just off the top of my head. All right. Flip 'em and read. What you got?
Oh.
Ooh. Ooh.
I said 4 gigs of RAM.
4 gigs?
Feeling juicy. It's probably not.
Nope.
We both
We
said.
both said 1.
1 gig?
1 gigabyte.
Do you want to give a more specific answer? I will allow this.
Wait.
1,024 megabytes.
1024?
That is a gigabyte.
I know.
I don't know.
Why are you allowing this? Why don't we just both
Because
get
he basically
points?
just said 1. So what do you think?
I also said 1.
Okay, so do you want to change your answer?
Wait, you can change your answer?
No, but you'll see.
I'll change my answer right now.
I feel like you're trying to do a
Because they're
tiebreaker.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying to do a tiebreaker.
How about one of us goes less than 1, one of us goes over 1?
Okay.
What do you want?
1.2.
I'll go under.
So 1.2.
Yeah.
And what'd you say, Andrew?
Okay.
The closest number to under that. You say over and I say under.
I'm over. He's under. All right, let's do it.
I'm so confused.
I'm saying it has
You
more
started
than 1
this.
gig, and he's saying it has less than 1 gig.
You started this.
Okay,
You
so
wanted a
Andrew's saying
tiebreaker.
less than 1 gig.
Yes.
Got it. Andrew gets the point.
Let's go.
Wow.
Disgusting.
The answer is around 500 megabytes.
Are you freaking
Nice.
kidding me?
Dang.
Whatever.
All right, question 2.
Okay.
Porsche Design Studio makes some really beautiful stuff and also some really weird stuff. And so I've collected 3 of the weirdest things I could find and 1 thing that I made up. And I'm going to show them to you, and then you must tell me which one is fake.
This is great.
Let's figure out how to do this.
That
for
means
audio
you
people,
created
too.
one of these?
It's a visual
Did Tim
component,
or an AI create?
Hey, man, I don't tell you to do your job. Number 1, the Porsche kitchen. This
man.
ultra-modern kitchen pulls from familiar Porsche materials like aluminum for its frame and new materials for its surfaces, like frosted glass countertops and a raw wood paneling.
That weirdly looks like it could be real.
It looks the most sterile kitchen. 0 character ever. Oh.
Number 2 is the
love this.
Porsche Impact Driver. Porsche worked with a local
Why is it
Stuttgart
upside down?
tool manufacturer to develop an impact driver with comfort in mind. The vertical aluminum handle paired with a carbon fiber back yield an incredibly balanced impact driver.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's funny.
Number 3, the Porsche hospital bed. The Porsche design hospital bed is a more modern addition to their design portfolio, emphasizing chrome fittings and clear lines. The height ratio between the headboard and footboard is a nod to the profile
my
of their classic
God.
fastback design. And number...
Wait. You know how they charge you like $8,000 a night to stay in the
This is
hospital?
why, because they have the
This is
Porsche
why.
bed. And number 4,
Oh my God.
this is the Porsche smoking pipe. It might look like a normal pipe until you realize that the bowl has a heat sink. That's right. Those are radiator fins.
No
There's no
way.
liquid, but the fins do supposedly keep the bowl at a lower temperature, leading for a more pleasurable smoke.
God, this is tough.
What in the world?
This is tough.
I feel like
Google code competitions.
it can't be
Google
but
surveys.
it could be. What was
They
B?
killed
What was
Google
the second one?
surveys.
What was B?
Impact driver.
B was the impact driver.
There was a kitchen, impact driver, hospital bed, and pipe.
I don't know, man. The hospital bed's freaking so funny.
This is brutal.
Okay,
What do you guys have?
I went with the kitchen.
You think the kitchen is fake?
Correct.
All right. The kitchen is real. That is a real image. Andrew, you put
Impact
the
driver.
impact driver is real too.
Is it
That is a
real?
real photograph.
Please don't be the
Why did they have a drill bit in an impact driver?
Excuse me. I think I wrote impact driver, but it's actually a hammering drill.
That changes how I. That's
Impact
why I
driver and
picked
a
it.
hammering drill, they're the same thing.
I feel like you usually don't use a drill bit on an impact driver, no?
Oh, I also put the kitchen.
Do you not?
I
What do you-
believe
what do
that's
you
why
put
you
on-
like
what-
drill.
Is it
do
a
you-
hospital bed?
What do you put on your impact driver?
Maybe I'm sounding like an idiot here, but
No, I'm worried I'm sounding like an idiot now. I thought an impact driver was a traditional drill that has a hammer motor built
yeah, I know,
into
but
the
I don't think
back.
you would normally drill holes with it because of the fact that it's not doing it.
You drill holes in really hard
I
stuff.
don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I know you can put it in, but
If
Why
you
should I not
are
use
a
it?
contractor
hold on, here's a Reddit thread.
and you know how to correctly use an
asking
impact
Google.
Says,
driver,
I've used impact driver for many times for drilling holes, most of the time for fence work, but recently see many people say not to use an impact driver for driving holes. Says
It's not called an
Impact rated bits.
driller.
they're rated bits specifically for a purpose, and it could
Interesting.
break the bits.
All right.
So I saw that and thought, oh, that must be fake. You just threw a Porsche design logo on it, and
no, I wish I was that good at Photoshop. I probably could
that
ask
seems like
Tim.
an easy one. Was it the hospital bed?
Oh yeah, the hospital.
Okay, it looks so AI created.
Marquez is tied with David in first place with 9 points, but don't be worried because Andrew is hot on their tails.
Wait, Sharon and I have 9 points also.
Yeah, Andrew got the second one right.
I got the first one right.
You got
The first one.
And he's also tied with Andrew.
Yeah, he's also tied with those other guys. Dang, we're 9. We're very deep into this season for a tie game. This is cool.
are.
This is cool. You're all gonna get 40 something points in the next trivia extravaganza. So none of it matters. But
It is neat.
That's
It
pretty
could.
exciting.
The last trivia was decided by 1 point.
That's true.
That's so true.
Carried the one.
Well, this has been a fun off the wall episode. Obviously, if you enjoyed it, feel free to hit that like button, but most importantly, hit subscribe so you can see more. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
Waveform was produced by Adam Molina and Ellis River. We're partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our intro outro music was created by Vane Sill.
That's a terrible combo. Maybe don't publish that. It's funny.